He was the iron-fisted king who unified the continent. He was the last survivor of the winged dragons. This should have been a story about the bitter feud between two titans, but she, a little hamster demon who'd been working in the Demon Palace kitchens, accidentally stumbled onto the wrong stage. From then on, every answer was a matter of life and death, and every promotion came with a crystal-clear price. It seemed like she was escaping one deadly trap, only to fall step by step into his. Rebecca suddenly received a notice for a promotion and a raise. Just as she was giddy with excitement, thinking she'd finally made it, the job title on the notice struck her heart like a sledgehammer. His Majesty the Demon King's personal maid. Everyone knew the stories about Demon King Abrumt. He took the throne at 10, and in just 10 years he unified the fractured Dark Domain and slaughtered the entire Winged Dragon clan, becoming the most powerful being on the Slot continent. Even more terrifying, he had also eliminated his own mother and his sister's entire family. For a tyrant whose hands were stained with so much blood, just surviving under his rule was a miracle, let alone working for him. Filled with dread, Rebecca begged the head chef to let her stay. But the chef just smiled and coaxed her. Take a look at the salary and benefits before you decide. Paid vacations, a triple year-end bonus, and they'd even solve her housing and residency issues. It was the dream benefits package for any working person. Tempted by the money and the chance to reunite with her family, Rebecca finally gritted her teeth and accepted the job. That seemed like a golden opportunity on the surface, but was fraught with peril. With a heart full of unease, Rebecca arrived at the Demon King's chambers. The head maid shoved a broom into her hands and commanded coldly, "Go and sweep the Phoenix Hall." Rebecca's heart tightened. She hesitated, having heard that the Phoenix Hall was a forbidden area. Seeing her reluctance, the head maid said snidely, "The head chef told me you were a hard worker. Why are you already trying to get out of your first task?" The others around them chimed in with agreement. Not wanting to make a bad impression on her first day, Rebecca had no choice but to brace herself and agree. As she walked away, the others began to whisper, "I heard the most vicious prisoners of war are locked up in the Phoenix Hall, especially on the lowest level, where they're holding someone of unknown identity. Anyone who's ever broken into the Phoenix Hall has ended up either dead or crippled." The moment Rebecca stepped into the hall, she knew something was wrong. Suddenly, a powerful dark energy shot through her body, followed by the tragic wails of countless resentful spirits echoing through the air. Rebecca struggled desperately, not wanting to die so senselessly here. Just then, she felt something approaching from behind, and terror instantly consumed her. In her panic, a hand reached out from the darkness and shoved her violently down to the lowest level. Rebecca forced her eyes open, enduring the excruciating pain in her body. What she saw was a man with white hair, pointed ears, and a large pair of wings on his back. His limbs were bound tightly by thick iron chains, and he radiated a mysterious and dangerous aura. Rebecca's heart jolted. A winged dragon! But weren't they all slaughtered by the Demon King? The man's powerful presence made Rebecca tremble in fear, but he was completely different from the malicious spirits outside. He might be her only hope of survival, but that hope instantly turned to terror. The winged dragon's thick tail lashed out like black lightning, coiling tightly around Rebecca. The tail tightened its grip, squeezing her neck. Rebecca gasped for air as the fear of death washed over her. She struggled, begging the winged dragon to let her go, but her pleas were met with cold silence. Rebecca cautiously looked up and noticed the winged dragon was injured, his wound still bleeding. For some reason, a wave of pity washed over her. The strange thought barely registered before the winged dragon's lips curved into a slight smirk. "You're just another piece of trash thrown in here." "No, that's not it," Rebecca quickly explained, her voice hoarse from fear and suffocation. "I'm the Demon King's personal maid. Today was my first day, and the other maids tricked me into coming here." Hearing this, a sly smile touched the winged dragon's lips, as if he'd heard something amusing. He then released his tail from her neck. Rebecca gasped for breath, the relief barely settling in before she heard the winged dragon's deep voice again. "Little thing, I can save you." Rebecca felt a wave of relief. But before she could celebrate, the winged dragon added slowly, "But I won't save you for free. Are you willing?" Rebecca knew this could be a deal with the devil, but she had no other way out. Her only choice was to cling to this lifeline. She nodded eagerly. The winged dragon suddenly leaned in and pressed his lips to hers. The taste of blood filled her mouth. A powerful intuition told Rebecca that from this moment on, their fates were intertwined. Meanwhile, Rebecca was called to attend to the Demon King's bath, but she was nowhere to be found. The headmaid panicked and immediately played the victim. Rebecca slipped into the Phoenix Hall when we weren't looking. Just as she finished speaking, Rebecca rushed before the crowd. Sorry, I'm late. Everyone stared, dumbfounded, unable to believe she had emerged from the Phoenix Hall completely unharmed. The headmaid, worried Rebecca would expose her to the king, quickly warned her to watch her mouth. Rebecca smiled back, a flicker of defiance in her eyes. I'll handle it. A short while later, Rebecca and two other maids were led into the Demon King's chambers. Rebecca felt like her luck had run out. She'd just escaped the dragon's den, and now she was walking into the tiger's lair. Soon a guard signaled for them to stop. He went ahead to report to the king. Your Majesty, they've been brought. A powerful and terrifying aura washed over them. Rebecca's heart pounded, and she instinctively lowered her head, not daring to look up. Among the three of you, there is a traitor. The Demon King's voice was bone-chillingly cold. Rebecca's mind went blank, her heart hammering in her chest. The Demon King, sword in hand, approached her step by step. He reached out, lifted her chin, and asked coldly, You're the new one, Rebecca? Rebecca trembled with fear, her mind racing. Did he find out about my deal with the winged dragon? The dragon needs a strand of the Demon King's hair within 2 days, or I'll die for sure. Before Rebecca could process her panic, the sharp sound of a sword swinging cut through the silence. She slowly turned her head in horror, to see a warm spray of red splatter across the cold floor. The smell of blood quickly filled the air. Rebecca's legs gave out, and she collapsed to the ground. Jolly was secretly communicating with the second prince of the Grey Wolf clan, passing him information about His Majesty. The sentence is death by 1,000 cuts. Having witnessed such a grisly scene firsthand, Rebecca was completely stunned. But the Demon King just smiled playfully, giving her no time to recover. Time for my bath, he commanded. Rebecca cursed her fate internally but didn't dare disobey, only managing to squeak out a reply. Today she really might die over a single strand of hair. After all, the Demon King in front of her was 100 times more ruthless than she had ever imagined. In a flash, the Demon King had shed his clothes and was leisurely soaking in the bath. A glimmer of hope appeared in Rebecca's eyes. Maybe there was a stray hair on his clothes. She searched them inside and out 108 times, but found nothing. Refusing to give up, she suppressed her fear, put on a calm front, and stepped forward to help the Demon King wash his hair. She figured that if her own hair fell out most when she washed it, maybe his would too. But just when she thought she was about to succeed, she discovered that the Demon King's godlike hair was so perfect that not a single strand came loose. Rebecca was frantic. The dragon had only given her 2 days. Time was running out. A bold idea popped into her head, just yank it out. While she was weighing her options, the Demon King's cold voice spoke again. I heard you and she are from the same town and are usually quite close. Before he finished his sentence, he had the other maid by the throat. Which means you are also suspected of knowing and not reporting. Rebecca watched in horror, knowing full well the Demon King was a ruthless madman. He hadn't even spared his own sister or his underage nephew when they crossed him. He was like a suspicious black mamba, ready to kill anyone he doubted without hesitation. A complex mix of emotions washed over Rebecca. On one hand, this was a perfect opportunity to steal the hair. On the other, she couldn't bear to watch someone die. In that life-or-death moment, she took a deep breath, dropped to her knees with a thud, and pleaded for the maid in a trembling voice. Please, please spare her, Your Majesty. If you suspect her, you can banish her from the palace, but please don't kill her. The Demon King glared at Rebecca. Are you her accomplice? Rebecca was stunned, then frantically denied it, distancing herself while continuing to speak for the maid. Because she's just like me, just an ordinary person trying to make a living under you, hoping to save enough money to go home and be with her parents. Your Majesty, even someone as high and mighty as you must have people you care for, people you hope will return, right? Please don't destroy a family and plunge them into despair over a mere suspicion. Please spare her life. Rebecca had dared to speak so bluntly to the almighty Demon King. For a moment, the entire chamber fell silent and everyone held their breath for her. The Demon King's face darkened. With a cold snort and a flick of his wrist, he sent the maid flying 10 feet away. Get out! The Demon King's icy voice echoed through the hall. The maid scrambled to her feet and fled. Rebecca quickly knelt to thank the Demon King, then moved to help him with his robe. But in a cruel twist of fate, her foot slipped on a bar of soap. sending her flying uncontrollably toward the Demon King. At the last second, the Demon King sidestepped, and Rebecca plunged headfirst into the steaming bath. Ash! She even managed to swallow a few mouthfuls of the king's bathwater. The Demon King just spoke coldly, telling her to learn her lesson. A guard understood immediately, responding, "Yes, sir." Rebecca had narrowly escaped the Demon King's wrath, and she secretly rejoiced at the few strands of hair she'd managed to grab. But her happiness lasted only 2 seconds before a bucket of cold water was dumped on her head, figuratively. For bumping into the Demon King, Rebecca was sentenced to 3 days in solitary confinement as a warning. The deadline with the winged dragon was now just 1 hour away. Trapped in the small, dark room, Rebecca looked at the single tiny window and had an idea. It seems the only way out is to change back to my original form. With a shake, she transformed back into an adorable little hamster. She scrambled with all her might, climbing out of the window and finally escaping the room. Ha ha ha, I'm free. But just as she was celebrating, a blinding blue light flashed, and a powerful force threw her back, sending her face planting into the dirt. A guard then picked her up like a baby chick. The little hamster trembled in fear, blinking her big, innocent eyes and begging for mercy. But the guard was unmoved. With a wave of his hand, she was tossed back into the little black room. Sob. There's a barrier, I can't get out. Just then, a sharp pain shot through Rebecca's body, as if she were being pierced by 1,000 needles and torn to shreds in a blazing fire. Is this what the winged dragon meant by "you won't escape death"? In less than a second, her body began to dissipate, turning into specks of light until she vanished completely, leaving only the empty silence of the little black room. In the dark prison, the Dragon King's anticipation had turned to disappointment. As I thought, another useless one. Just then, Rebecca materialized right in front of him. The Dragon King's pupils constricted. He never would have imagined that the girl would appear before him alive and well. Rebecca's voice trembled with pain. "Save me, please, save me." She felt a strange sensation. A mysterious and deadly aura emanated from the man before her, an aura that made her blood boil. An unprecedented craving rose from the depths of her soul and instantly took control of her entire body. She uncontrollably grabbed the Dragon King's arm, opened her mouth, and bit down almost crazily, drinking his blood like a starving woman. As the blood flowed down her throat, her consciousness gradually returned, and the sharp pain in her body receded like a tide. When she was fully lucid again, she was horrified to find the Dragon King's handsome, cold face just inches from hers, while her hand was still clutching his bleeding arm. "Had enough? Want some more?" The Dragon King's voice was deep and chilly. Rebecca jolted as if electrocuted and let go of his arm. "I'm sorry." She couldn't understand why she had done something so bold and crazy. The Dragon King glanced down at the clear, savage bite mark, a meaningful smile slowly forming on his lips. Rebecca was filled with fear, silently praying the Dragon King would spare her. Just then his cold voice sounded again. "That day, as you were dying, I placed my dragon core inside you. While it temporarily sustained your life, the dragon core needs dragon blood to nourish it. Otherwise, after 2 days, it will burn through your flesh and blood before returning to my body." A flicker of confusion crossed the Dragon King's eyes. He truly didn't understand why the Dragon Core hadn't killed this girl and had instead brought her here. But she had certainly managed to pique his interest, and he looked forward to seeing what she would do next. Hearing the Dragon King's explanation, Rebecca instantly understood. From now on, she had to rely on his blood to live. The Dragon King promised that as long as she did his bidding, he'd provide all the dragon blood she needed. Rebecca hesitated. Betraying the Demon King was also a death sentence, and with his skill set, she'd probably be killed off in 2 chapters. At this thought, Rebecca cursed the heavens for dragging her into this mess. But the Dragon King wasn't finished. He threw out another lure. "Do one more thing for me, and I'll make the dragon core permanently stable within your body." Rebecca looked back at him warily. "Really?" The Dragon King let out a cold laugh. "My dragon core has an ability no one knows about. Using the Demon King's hair as a medium, you can enter his dreams." Rebecca's heart sank. "What? Enter His Majesty's dreams?" "That's right. I want you to go into his dreams and find my reverse scale." Rebecca looked at the Dragon King's wound, and a pang of sympathy shot through her. But her rational mind quickly took over. The Dragon King had done too many evil things, which is why the Demon King had stripped him of his scales. He didn't deserve her pity. This was supposed to be a fight between two powerful figures, so why was a small fry like her caught in the middle? The more she thought about it, the more unfair it seemed, and she couldn't help but shout, "I don't want to go! I don't want to die!" Hearing this, the Dragon King threatened to take back the dragon core inside her, which would kill her instantly. He looked Rebecca up and down, a playful glint in his eyes. "You're well endowed and have a certain aesthetic value." To save her own skin, Rebecca clung to this lifeline the Dragon King had thrown her and promised, "I'll get the mission done." The Dragon King nodded in satisfaction. "Once the dream ends, the Dragon Core will erase the Demon King's memory of it. You'll be safe in the real world." Rebecca was full of questions, but before she could ask how to do it, the Dragon King cut her off. "The Dragon Core will go into the dream with you. Just follow its instructions." With that, he glanced at his own bleeding arm and leaned in close to Rebecca's ear, whispering with a low chuckle, "Next time you'll have to trade the location of my reverse scale for my blood." Before she could react, he waved his hand, and a giant magic circle appeared out of thin air, glowing with a mysterious and dangerous light. Rebecca wasn't even mentally prepared. Before the Dragon King shoved her into the center of the array, the world spun, and when she came to, she was in a boundless, dark space. Countless sharp sword shadows rained down on her like deadly shooting stars. Rebecca's eyes widened in terror. She dodged left and right, desperately trying to escape the terrifying assault. But no matter how hard she tried, she seemed to be trapped in an invisible cage. Just as she was about to give up, the Dragon Core's voice appeared. "This is the border of the Demon King's consciousness. His defensive awareness has taken the form of this sword rain to block intruders. But don't worry, you're only here in your conscious form. You'll feel pain, but you won't actually get hurt." The pain alone was enough to kill Rebecca. She worried that if the Demon King didn't dream, she would suffer for nothing. The Dragon Core prompted, "Actually, in the consciousness space, you can create things with your imagination. Why don't you try to make an umbrella to block them?" Rebecca's eyes lit up. She quickly closed her eyes and let her imagination run wild. But when she opened them with anticipation, the result was the same. She had manifested absolutely nothing. "Useless! You're hopeless!" the Dragon Core scolded, frustrated. Just then, the entire consciousness space vibrated violently. The Dragon Core's expression changed. "The Demon King is dreaming. I can't manifest in the dream itself, so I'm out of here." The next second, Rebecca felt a powerful suction pull her into another space. When she got her bearings, she found herself dressed in a nurse's uniform in a magnificent bedchamber. Moonlight streamed through the window, casting a hazy silhouette on the floor. Rebecca's heart pounded as she thought, "Is that the Demon King?" In a dream, everything is constructed by the Demon King's consciousness, including your appearance. The Dragon Core's voice chimed in at the perfect moment. Rebecca's heart sank. A bedchamber in the middle of the night, a man and a woman alone, a nurse's uniform. Her cheeks flushed, and she couldn't help but complain in her head, "This Demon King is into some kinky stuff. Is this going to be a spicy dream?" The thought that she might be about to experience her first ever workplace sexual harassment sent Rebecca running for the door. But the moment she took a step, the door slammed shut. Rebecca took a deep breath, telling herself, "It's a dream, it's all fake." She cautiously tiptoed to the Demon King's bed, only to find a cute little boy. "Big sis, where are you giving me the shot today?" Rebecca was completely bewildered. It was the Demon King a second ago. How did he suddenly change? A bold idea popped into her head, but she decided to confirm his identity first. She asked in a professional tone, "Little one, what's your name?" The little boy blinked his big eyes. "Nurse sis, what's wrong with you? I'm Crown Prince Abramt." Rebecca instantly melted. "He's so cute," she thought. At the same time, she was relieved. The pre-10-year-old Demon King should be easy to handle. Remembering that the Dragon Core said the dream would erase his memories, Rebecca figured she could do whatever she wanted. First, she was going to pamper him rotten. Rebecca scooped up the adorable little Demon King and snuggled him, then playfully threatened, "Big sis is going to give you a shot in the butt." But to her surprise, the little Demon King obediently turned over and presented his little bottom. This completely threw Rebecca off. Weren't kids supposed to cry and scream when they get shots? The little king bit his lip, holding back the pain, and even smiled afterward, saying, "Thank you, nurse sis." Seeing how pitiful and cute he was, Rebecca felt a pang of guilt. She shouldn't have treated a child like this. She took out a handkerchief, gently wiped the tears from the corner of his eye, and said softly, A piece of candy after a shot makes the pain go away. How about Big Sis gives you one? The little king's eyes lit up at the mention of candy, his smile wider than she could have imagined. Big Sis, you're the best! Rebecca tried the method the dragon core had taught her, attempting to conjure a piece of candy out of thin air. After 49 tries, she still came up with nothing. Seeing the hopeful look in the little king's eyes, she couldn't bear to disappoint him. A sudden idea struck her. She took his hand and said, Big Sis doesn't have any candy right now, so let's use this instead. Then she carefully began to draw in the palm of his hand. The little king watched Rebecca's focused expression, his heart inexplicably speeding up. Before he knew it, the little king had grown into the Demon King. Rebecca finished drawing the candy and promised to give him a real one next time. But when she looked up and saw the tall, imposing Demon King before her, she froze and instinctively jumped back 10 feet, stammering, Your Majesty! She was freaking out. What is going on? Is this some kind of magic trick? Meanwhile, the Demon King stared at his palm, wondering, why does this little drawing of a candy stir such a strange feeling inside me? The Demon King's gloomy face suddenly broke into a brilliant smile. Rebecca froze. She never thought the Demon King could have such a gentle expression. The king flexed, admiring his now muscular body. Big Sis, your medicine is amazing. I've become so much stronger. I'm not afraid of those old ministers who give me trouble anymore. Rebecca instantly realized what had happened. The medicine was a growth accelerant, and the Demon King's mind was probably still stuck at 10 years old. Before she could process this, the king turned into an affectionate puppy and threw himself into her arms. Big Sis, I want to sleep with you. Rebecca panicked, especially when she noticed her nurse's uniform had somehow turned into a sexy little nightgown. Just as she was about to refuse, the Dragon Core's urgent voice sounded in her head. Agree. This is the perfect chance to find out where the reverse scale is. With no other choice, Rebecca had to agree. The Demon King, like a gentle giant dog, hugged his Big Sis and peacefully fell asleep. In the quiet room, only the sound of their 2 heartbeats could be heard. Rebecca's brain was practically short-circuiting. Looking at the king's pure, innocent face, an indescribable feeling began to grow in her heart. The king murmured softly, Big Sis, tomorrow is my coronation. I'm so scared, I can't sleep. Rebecca subconsciously comforted him. Don't worry, sleep well. I'm here with you, Your Highness. But the king suddenly opened his eyes, his gaze fixed on Rebecca. Big Sis, look at me now. Do you think I can intimidate those people tomorrow? As he spoke, he furrowed his brows and pursed his lips into a stern line, trying his best to look cold and imposing. But his youthful face only made him look more adorable, completely capturing Rebecca's heart. Your body has grown, but your mannerisms are still a bit childish. Then what should I do? Big Sis, hurry and teach me. Rebecca then began to demonstrate, mimicking the fierce and terrifying demeanor she remembered the Demon King usually had. Suddenly, she felt a grip on her neck, as the Demon King flipped her over and pinned her to the bed. A bloodthirsty glint flashed in his eyes as he growled, Woman, you dare to climb into the king's bed? You're courting death! Rebecca was terrified, thinking her life was over. But the next second, the king let go and grinned at her. Big Sis, how was I? Was that good? Rebecca could only manage a wry smile. A natural talent. Looking at the Demon King before her, she couldn't help but feel a wave of pity. At such a young age, he had to pretend to be an adult, fighting for his place among a pack of wolves. She reached out and ruffled his hair, comforting him softly. Aya, you can do it. You'll be a great king one day. The king was overjoyed by her words. He slowly leaned in and gave her a gentle kiss on the cheek. Big Sis tastes sweeter than candy. Rebecca's mind went blank, her heart pounding uncontrollably. When she came to her senses, the king's devastatingly handsome face was just inches from hers. Oh my God, I was just kissed by a bloodthirsty tyrant, she thought, panicking. No, he's just a kid right now. Big Sis, I have a present for you, the king said. He handed her a delicate box. This is for you. Rebecca composed herself and took the gift with a smile. She opened it to find a cute hamster-shaped hair clip. It looked familiar, but before she could figure out why, the king was in front of her, gently pinning it in her hair. I knew it. This clip suits you best, Big Sis. You're so beautiful. Rebecca's cheeks burned. Is he confessing to me? The Demon King in the dream seems different. The hamster's mission to find the reverse scale was a failure. But not only did the Dragon King not kill her, He praised her for a job well done. His strange reaction scared Rebecca so much she backed away 10 feet. I failed the mission. Are you going to take back the Dragon Core? But the Dragon King just shook his head and said slowly, I've tried to enter the Demon King's dreams myself, but I was always repelled by his defensive consciousness. He looked at Rebecca. Through the Dragon Core, I could feel that you moved freely in his dream. That means the Demon King trusts you. Rebecca found this unbelievable. Me? A nobody? The Demon King trusts me? But the Dragon King continued. On your first time in his dream, you got the Demon King to reveal a secret. A few more times, and we might just get our hands on that reverse scale. Rebecca was full of questions. Is the secret he's talking about that hamster hair clip? But more importantly, the Dragon King wanted her to go back into the dream. She shuddered and asked anxiously, a few more times? What do you mean? The Dragon King made a bold guess. The content of the dream is related to the linking object. If you could get the dreamer's saliva, tears, or blood, you might be able to enter their deeper subconscious. So next time, I need you to get me a few drops of the Demon King's blood. Rebecca's scalp tingled with fear. Last time, just getting a few strands of hair almost got her killed. This time, he wanted blood? This was basically a suicide mission. She was torn. Maybe I should just tell the Demon King everything. But the image of the brutally executed maid flashed in her mind, and she immediately dismissed the thought. Then again, this winged dragon, as strange and unpredictable as he was, still needed her. He probably wouldn't kill her, at least not for now. Thinking this, Rebecca took a deep breath and made up her mind. I'll do it, but on one condition. I need 6 days, and you have to supply me with your blood during that time. The Dragon King readily agreed. He then reached up and plucked a dark red scale from his chest, handing it to Rebecca. Take this. It has some information about the Demon King's habits and preferences. Rebecca's eyes widened in shock. How do you have this information? She blurted out. The Dragon King gave a cold smile, his voice tinged with playful mockery. That's not your concern. All you need to remember is that the more he likes you in the real world, the easier it will be for you to enter the depths of his consciousness in the dream world. Rebecca's heart sank. So I have to suck up to the Demon King? Rebecca had finally finished her 3 days in the little black room, but for some reason, her lower half was still stuck with the Dragon King and wouldn't teleport back. Just then, Captain Pacino came to release her. In a panic, Rebecca hid behind the door. When the guard opened the door to an empty room, he almost thought Rebecca had escaped. Luckily, at the last second, Rebecca managed to teleport the rest of her body back. She peeked her head out with a grin. Sorry, I was asleep. On the way back, Rebecca was preoccupied with how to use the few spells the Dragon King had taught her to get a few drops of the Demon King's blood within 4 days. Suddenly, her thoughts were interrupted by a bag of bread. Pacino spoke gently. Miss Rebecca, you should eat something. Thank you, Captain Pacino. She never would have guessed that the bloodthirsty Demon King would have someone so kind by his side. The next day, the Demon Palace held its annual grand banquet. The banquet was, to put it bluntly, a matchmaking party. Young ladies and princesses from all over had their sights set on the Demon King, the ultimate bachelor. Rebecca's duty this time was to serve Princess Lily from the north. Princess Lily's father was the Northern Bee King, who controlled a vast supply of magic stones. She had known the Demon King since childhood and had come this time determined to marry him. With an announcement, the crowd respectfully parted. The Demon King made his grand entrance, exuding an intimidating aura that warned everyone to keep their distance. He walked with steady, powerful steps toward the center of the hall. Seeing him, Rebecca quickly knelt, bowing her head as low as she could. She was terrified that the Demon King might remember what happened in the dream. Thankfully, he walked past her without any sign of recognition. Rebecca held her breath until he was far away before she finally relaxed. It seemed the Dragon King was right. The dreamer had no memory of the person who entered their dream. The Demon King before her was completely different from the one in the dream. He was no longer the timid, cute boy. Now he commanded every situation with the presence of a true king. A flicker of hope sparked in Rebecca's heart, a desire to find a hidden gentleness deep within this powerful Demon King. But she quickly snapped out of it, knowing that her priority was to find a way to get his blood. As she racked her brain, the Demon King's intense gaze suddenly fell on her, then quickly darted away. This fleeting moment was caught by the sharp-eyed ladies in the crowd, causing a stir. His Majesty was just looking at Princess Lily. We don't stand a chance. Princess Lily, however, looked displeased as she glanced at Rebecca. Is that so? The princess's sudden attention sent a cold sweat down Rebecca's back. Sure enough, Princess Lily deliberately bumped into Rebecca, making her spill the red wine she was holding. The Demon King glanced at Rebecca. Princess Lily, consumed by jealousy, failed in her attempt to frame Rebecca and went to complain to the king. Your Majesty, please allow me to take Rebecca back to the north to be properly disciplined. Rebecca's heart leaped into her throat. She knew the Demon King wouldn't offend a beloved princess for a small fry like her. If she wanted to live, she had to save herself. She dropped to her knees with a thud and yelled, I can't go! I'm in a passionate relationship with Captain Pacino, and I can't bear to be away from him for even a day. Her words silenced the entire hall. Pacino was also stunned, but seeing Rebecca's desperate expression, he couldn't bring himself to expose her lie, and played along, pleading with the king on her behalf. Everyone knew that the Demon King and Pacino were as close as brothers. To save face for the king, Princess Lily had to drop her scheme. Fine, I'm going to go change my dress. Excuse me. Having escaped disaster, Rebecca breathed a sigh of relief. However, she didn't expect that this would make the suspicious Demon King fixate on her. The Demon King asked Pacino coolly, when did you two get together? Pacino had no choice but to make something up. I liked her from the start, and then I saw how brave she was. I confessed as soon as her confinement was over. The Demon King's lips curved into a playful smirk. I hope you haven't misjudged her. The ball reached its climax as the first dance was about to begin. Princess Lily, having changed her dress, hurried back, eagerly awaiting the Demon King's invitation. Instead, the king walked over to Rebecca and extended his hand. Miss, may I have this dance? The entire room erupted. Everyone started whispering, guessing that the Demon King was signaling that he had no intention of marrying any of the princesses. Rebecca was dumbfounded. She didn't know how to dance. The moment they started, she began frantically stepping on the Demon King's feet. He almost yelped in pain. If you can't dance, you should have said so, he grumbled. Rebecca replied cautiously, when your Majesty invites, how could I dare to refuse? But her feet still wouldn't cooperate. The king, annoyed, pushed her away. Rebecca thought she was done for. But then the king's expression softened. Step on my feet. I'll lead you. Rebecca was stunned for a moment. The Demon King grew impatient and lowered his voice. Don't make me say it twice. Rebecca had no choice but to obediently wrap her arms around the Demon King's neck and step onto his shiny leather shoes. They continued to dance to the music. Being so close, Rebecca looked at the Demon King's handsome face and her heart began to race. At the same time, the aura he radiated felt strangely comforting. Just then, the Demon King leaned in close and whispered, Last night, a bold little demon snuck into my dream, and we shared an intimate moment. Was that you? The Demon King, suspicious of Rebecca, continued to test her. Come to me tonight. Wealth, power, glory. I can give you anything you want, even my blood. His voice was low and full of temptation. Rebecca stared at the Demon King. The offer was a deadly temptation, but also a perfect opportunity to survive. Nearby, Pacino watched Rebecca's dazed expression, his heart in his throat, terrified she would say the wrong thing and end up dead. Fortunately, at the critical moment, Rebecca snapped back to reality and decisively refused. Pacino and I haven't known each other for long, but I've seen him help the servants, and I've seen his undisguised concern for you. I want to protect his integrity and kindness. Even though I fear your power, I could never hurt him. The Demon King just gave a soft in response, his face unreadable. Rebecca's heart pounded. Did I pass the test? She wondered. After a long moment, the Demon King spoke slowly. Pacino has been by my side since we were children. When the former king was assassinated, his father was killed as well. He has no friends besides me, and his own family abandoned him. He's always been very lonely. Since you two are together, treat him well. Rebecca felt both guilty and shocked. She never thought the cold, bloodthirsty Demon King could care about someone else. But he doesn't have any family either. Does he feel lonely too? In the dream, he was so attached to a stranger. It seemed his difficult days were just as hard as Pacino's. Rebecca couldn't help but feel a flicker of sympathy for the Demon King. But her sympathy vanished the next second when she received a warning glare from him. If you betray Pacino, I will send you to the gallows. Rebecca panicked instantly. Right, I can't think of him as a good person. He deserves to be lonely forever. After the ball, to thank Pacino for helping her out, Rebecca brought him a small cake she had baked herself and asked him to continue pretending to be her boyfriend for a while longer. Pacino readily agreed. Rebecca was strangely moved. Captain Pacino is such a good person, she thought. No wonder even the Demon King cares so much about him. Thinking of the Demon King reminded Rebecca of her unfinished mission. She knew the king was extremely suspicious, and trying to get his blood secretly was too risky. She could easily lose her life. What should I do? Rebecca was so anxious she could have torn her hair out. Seeing her distress, Pacino offered to help. Rebecca's eyes lit up, and she quickly said she wanted a promotion and a raise, and needed to know the king's preferences. Or perhaps a wish he had yet to fulfill. Pacino could tell she was lying. Rebecca had been acting strangely for the past 2 days. While other maids avoided serving the king, she eagerly volunteered. At the ball, her gaze never left the king, and the way she looked at him while they danced was different. Pacino guessed that the promotion was a lie. What she really wanted was to understand the king. Since it involved His Majesty, he couldn't agree right away. He decided to observe her for a while longer and politely refused. I can't think of anything at the moment. I'll let you know if I do. Okay, thank you, Captain Pacino. I won't disturb you any longer, Rebecca said before quickly leaving. Pacino watched her go, lost in thought. His Majesty has never had any friends. If someone could get close to him, maybe he would open up. I truly hope Rebecca doesn't disappoint. Rebecca had worked all day, only to end up with nothing. She carefully took out the Dragon King's scale. It was her only hope now. The scale projected an ancient image. In the vision, the former king was still alive, and the Demon King was just an innocent child with a close childhood friend, cherished by the king. The former king played with the little Demon King just like any other father. But good times are always short-lived. The former king died suddenly, and the little Demon King was imprisoned. From then on, his world was consumed by darkness. Perhaps it was this painful experience that turned the once innocent boy into the bloodthirsty monster he was today. A withered spirit Paulownia tree in the vision seemed to be the key to the Demon King's unresolved trauma. Rebecca thought that if she could revive the tree, she might earn a reward from the Demon King. But her hope quickly faded. With only 2 days left, could she really work a miracle with her weak magic? As she wrestled with her thoughts, the scale suddenly made a buzzing sound. At the same time, Princess Lily was suffering a great humiliation. The Northern King's furious hand struck Lily's face. The seemingly glamorous Princess Lily was, in reality, just a pawn in the Northern King's hands, a tool for him to expand his power through marriage. Just because she failed to win the Demon King's favor at the banquet, she was subjected to her father's endless humiliation and scolding. The Northern King's sole focus was using her to gain the Demon King's trust so he could assassinate him. But Lily had her own secret. She was in love with her brother Brian. Ever since she found out he was still alive, rescuing him had become her only reason for living. So she gritted her teeth and agreed to her father's plan, thinking any sacrifice was worth it to achieve her goal. At that moment, she clutched the glowing blue scale in her hand, her eyes filled with determination and urgency, longing to be reunited with her brother Brian. And this massive secret was overheard by the little hamster, who had been led there by the dragon's scale. She made a bold guess. To save the Dragon King, they were planning to assassinate the Demon King. The next day, the Demon King graciously invited the various bee kings and princesses to lunch. During the meal, Lily, with a fake smile, tried to get close to the Demon King. The former king always wanted to arrange a marriage between us. Do you remember, Your Majesty? The Demon King didn't even look up, just coldly replied, I don't. The smile on Lily's face froze. She scrambled for a new topic. Your Majesty shouldn't blame yourself for the former king's death. After all, you were only 8 years old. It's understandable to make mistakes. Her words made Rebecca's heart sink. Was the Demon King involved in his father's death? Is Princess Lily deliberately trying to provoke him? Is this the first step of their assassination plot? The Demon King's face turned dark and grim, but Lily grew more and more agitated, first praising the former king's great achievements, then suggesting a hunting trip to the Dorne hunting grounds to reminisce and honor his memory. Rebecca thought the cautious and suspicious Demon King would surely refuse, but to her shock, he agreed without hesitation. This scared Rebecca so much that her hand trembled as she poured wine, spilling it. Rebecca looked at the Demon King in terror. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Fortunately, the Demon King was in a relatively good mood. He just gave her a cold glance and dismissed her. Rebecca, feeling like she'd been pardoned, quickly retreated to a corner. She considered telling the Demon King about Lily's plot to earn a reward, but after thinking it over, she realized she had no proof. What she'd overheard was just fragments, not enough to be convincing. Besides, getting involved in political intrigue could easily get her killed. Just as she was about to have a breakdown, she heard the Demon King and Lily finalize their plans to leave for the Dorn hunting grounds the next day for a 7-day trip. The news hit Rebecca like a thunderbolt. As a low-ranking maid, she had no right to accompany the king, but her deadline with the Dragon King was only 2 days away. What was she going to do now? With the Dragon King's deadline approaching, Rebecca was stressed to the point of balding. Just then, she received an order to help the Demon King pack for his trip. Suddenly, a bold and risky plan formed in her mind. Late at night, the world seemed to be asleep, except for the Demon King's chambers, which radiated a mysterious and dangerous aura. The hamster cast a teleportation spell, successfully sending half of her body next to the Demon King. This unexpected flaw actually became her cover. The hamster was secretly pleased. While packing earlier that day, she had secretly placed a diligence spell under the Demon King's pillow. Now the Demon King was deep in dreamland, completely unaware. The hamster crept closer, searching his body for the best place to draw blood. Finally, she found the perfect spot behind his ear, rich in blood vessels and least sensitive to pain. With trembling hands, she slowly brought the needle to the back of his ear and successfully collected his blood. Just as she was getting excited, the Demon King let out a muffled groan. The hamster's heart nearly leaped out of her chest, and she instinctively dove under his covers. The Demon King seemed to sense something was wrong and slowly opened his blood-red eyes. The hamster hid under the blanket, not daring to breathe, her heart pounding wildly. To make matters worse, at that very moment, her lower half decided to teleport over. The Demon King sat up abruptly, his eyes scanning his surroundings warily. The room's protective barrier was intact. Finding nothing amiss, he slowly lay back down and, under the influence of the diligence spell, fell asleep again. However, the spell's backlash began to take effect, and an overwhelming sleepiness washed over the hamster. She finally couldn't resist and collapsed onto the Demon King's body. When she came to her senses, she was staring at the Demon King's chiseled 18-pack abs. The hamster's eyes widened, and she screamed silently in her head. "No, no, avert your eyes, this sinful man!" In a panic, the hamster tried to use a teleportation spell to escape the awkward situation. But because her previous teleportation had left her form unstable, not only did she fail to leave, but she transformed directly into her human form. The Demon King's handsome face was just inches away, his warm breath on her face. The hamster completely froze, her body stiff as a board, only able to pray frantically in her mind. "Please don't wake up." She kept chanting the diligence spell under her breath. Just then, the Demon King's brow furrowed and he started mumbling, apparently trapped in a terrible nightmare. The hamster's heart tightened, and for some reason, a wave of pity washed over her. On impulse, she reached out, wanting to smooth the wrinkles on his forehead. The moment her fingertips touched his skin, the Demon King's blood-red eyes snapped open. The hamster gasped instinctively. Such beautiful eyes. The words were out of her mouth before she realized the Demon King was awake. The Demon King's long, slender fingers wrapped tightly around the hamster's delicate neck. A chilling, oppressive killing intent washed over her. Just as she was about to suffocate, the hamster managed to pry his fingers open. At the same time, the Demon King's towering body grew heavy under the influence of the diligence spell, and his eyelids began to close uncontrollably. Seeing her chance, the hamster, despite her weakness, gathered all her strength to escape. But the Demon King's long arm shot out and pulled her back into his embrace. The power of the diligence spell raged within the hamster, draining her strength rapidly. But compared to the Demon King, she still had a sliver of energy left. Gritting her teeth, she used the last of her strength to kick the Demon King hard. He fell to the ground with a thud, unconscious. The hamster didn't dare to linger and quickly activated her teleportation spell. Soon she appeared before the Dragon King. But before she could even breathe a sigh of relief, the Dragon King told her she could no longer enter the Demon King's dreams. Because she had been discovered, she could no longer easily access his dreamscape. The hamster's vision went dark, her legs gave out, and she collapsed to the floor. Suddenly, a strange courage filled her. She resolutely reached out and grabbed the Dragon King's arm, her eyes shining with determination as she said loudly, I'll be responsible for finding your reverse scale, and you will get me out of here." A moment later, the hamster once again stepped into the Demon King's bizarre dreamscape. In this dream, the Demon King's hands and feet were bound, and he was unable to move, looking completely harmless. The hamster cautiously approached and slowly began to untie him. But the moment his hands were free, a sharp, cold light flashed across the hamster's neck. Before she could even feel the pain, the Demon King had killed her with a single blow. The next moment, she was ruthlessly pushed off a cloud. In that instant, she truly felt how cold it was to bleed out, how painful it was to fall from such a height. She didn't want to experience the feeling of death again. Just as the hamster was losing hope, the Dragon Core's voice sounded in her mind like a ray of light. Even though the Demon King is hostile towards you, the good news is you can still enter his dreams. Because of the diligence spell, he will be asleep for a long time, which means he'll have a lot of dreams. In other words, you still have many more chances. The hamster entered the Demon King's dreams again and again, only to be met with the gnashing jaws of tigers, the huge pincers of scorpions, and the crushing coils of pythons. Her soul was so battered that she could barely even crawl. The Dragon Core kindly reminded her that if she didn't get the scale before dawn, she would really be dead for good. Hearing this and not wanting to drag her family down with her, the hamster forced herself to sit up. From now on, I can't let myself be killed in the dream. But gaining the Demon King's trust in such a short time is also impossible. Just as she had a flash of inspiration, a pair of evil hands appeared and pushed her into a bottomless abyss. The Demon King's eyes flashed red, as if he were smugly admiring his handiwork. Suddenly, his pupils constricted. He saw a flash of green in the hamster's arms, glowing faintly in the darkness. The Dragon Core, exasperated, teased, "You can't even conjure an umbrella, and you think you can conjure a tree?" The hamster was betting on the Demon King's obsession with the spirit Polonia tree. If she could prove that she was the key to cultivating it, she could then ask for the winged dragon's heartblood and find the location of the scale. And sure enough, her effort paid off. The little sapling took root as it fell. The Demon King shot down like an arrow, his slender fingers gripping the hamster's waist tightly. But in the dream, his magic was limited, and the magical flame at his fingertips fizzled out. The two of them fell like a broken kite. At the last second, the Demon King twisted his body, using himself as a cushion to save the hamster. The hamster let out a huge sigh of relief. We didn't die from that height. He really does have main character plot armor. Just then, the Demon King's gaze fell on the spirit Polonia in her hands. He spoke slowly. "Where did you get that?" "I grew it. Only the essence refined by my unique evolution technique can nourish the spirit Polonia." The hamster suppressed her elation, but the sly glint in her eyes was impossible to hide. She had already formulated a perfect plan in her mind, but she never expected that the scene before her would leave her speechless once again. A stampede of spiders surged from behind the Demon King. The hamster took off running, but then saw a spider launch a fierce attack on the king. He curled up on the ground, tears streaming down his face. The hamster's eyes widened. What's going on? The Dragon Core's warning exploded in her mind. These are manifestations of the dreamer's inner demons. The spirit Polonia must have triggered a strong emotional response in the Demon King. The tree will only last for half an hour. If the dreamer dies, the dream will collapse and your mission will fail. Before the words had even faded, the hamster was already running back. She grabbed the Demon King's hand. "Don't be afraid, I'll get you out of here." The Demon King looked up at the hamster and his heart skipped a beat as a familiar yet fuzzy memory washed over him. Once before, it seemed, someone else had protected him so selflessly. They ran for a long time before finally finding a safe cave to hide in. The hamster noticed his wound was a strange purplish-black color. The Dragon Core urged her frantically. "He's poisoned! If the poison spreads, he'll die too!" The hamster reached out without thinking, but he grabbed her wrist. "What are you doing?" "You're poisoned," she explained. "You need an antidote right away." The tips of the Demon King's ears turned red as he backed away. "You're not allowed!" However, the hamster just pounced on him and bit down on the wound. After half an hour, the Demon King was out of danger. The hamster finally let out a sigh of relief, only to realize she had stripped him completely bare. "Oops, I almost forgot he's a guy." She tried to act calm. "Don't worry about it. When I was studying medicine, I treated adults, kids, men, women, even little animals this way. In my eyes, you're no different from the beagle I saved last time. I didn't feel a thing, so you probably didn't either, right?" The Demon King whipped his head away. his Adam's apple bobbing as he choked out, "Of course not." Just then, the spirit Polonia, damaged during their escape from the spider, began to wither. There was only one way to save it. "What is it?" the Demon King asked urgently. The hamster said carefully, "The heart blood of a winged dragon can heal it. But there are no more winged dragons in this world." Hearing this, the Demon King let out a low chuckle, a cunning light shining in his eyes. "The heart blood of a winged dragon, you say?" Suddenly, the dream began to shake violently. The Demon King's extreme aversion to the winged dragon's blood was eating away at his consciousness like an inner demon. The Dragon Core's expression turned grave. "It looks like he's about to fall into a deeper level of dreaming." The Demon King's consciousness gradually faded, and soon he was asleep. The hamster, terrified of being trapped in the dream, was about to shake him awake. But the Dragon Core stopped her. "If he wakes up in reality too, all our progress will be lost. You can enter the dream within a dream, but this time you need to find a medium with a deeper connection to him." As the hamster thought hard, the Dragon Core piped up. For example, his saliva from a kiss. Before it could finish, the hamster's face was already beet red. But the Dragon Core continued nonchalantly, "You were just sucking the spider venom out of him. Didn't you basically kiss his whole body?" The hamster was dead set against it at first, but to save her own skin, she had to bite the bullet and agree. With a look of grim determination, she gently cupped the Demon King's handsome face and leaned in. The moment their lips touched, a wave of nervousness washed over her. Guided by the Dragon Core, she gradually deepened the kiss, using her tenderness as a thread to pull at the Demon King's consciousness. After what felt like an eternity, the hamster opened her eyes again, finding herself in a whole new dream world. But she never expected to have become a little boy, and the little Demon King's personal guard at that. "Hey, hurry up, Brian is waiting for us." The Demon King before her was the child version from the previous dream. And the Brian he mentioned? Could that be the Dragon King from the dungeon? The little Demon King waved enthusiastically at someone in the distance. A silver-haired little boy slowly looked up. "Abrampt, you're here." The hamster studied the little boy closely. It was indeed the Dragon King as a child. She never would have imagined that these two were once close friends who shared their deepest secrets. "I just want my father to see me, but he only has eyes for my talented older brother." "Don't be sad, Brian. My father only has eyes for my sister too. He gives her all the best things, but he still secretly replaces the horseshoes on my horse. So, your father is probably loving you in ways you don't even notice." Hearing this, the little Dragon King gritted his teeth in frustration. "You're your father's only son. You get all his love. So it's easy for you to say something so condescending. You don't understand how I feel at all." The little Demon King was at a loss. "I might not completely understand your pain, but I'll do everything I can to help you." "You can't help me," the little Dragon King said, tears welling up in his eyes. "My brother was born with the ability to control dragon's breath, and I'm just a failure." "Don't cry, you little crybaby. I can help you." "Did you forget? When the gods fell, my ancestor was the only one who survived. My father and I both inherited a divine bloodline." Abram lowered his voice, his warm breath tickling his friend's ear. "The divine bloodline holds a secret that only my father and I know. A single drop of our blood can double one's magic power." At that moment, the hamster finally understood. What the Demon King had said at the ball was true, but hadn't he lost his divine bloodline later on? Brian didn't want his friend to take such a risk, but Abram just smiled. "Don't worry. You can always make more blood, but you can't find another best friend. If you feel bad about it, you can be my errand boy from now on and have to praise me 20 times a day. Abramt is 100 times more handsome than Brian." Brian quickly waved his hands, refusing. "I can't." Before Brian could finish, Abramt had already pushed a vial of blood into his hand. "Brian, maybe I don't fully understand how you feel, but I will always support you." Brian was moved to tears. He threw his arms around Abramt in a tight hug. "Abramt, you are 100 times more handsome than I, Brian." The hamster peeked out from the side, her round eyes reflecting the two friends embracing. She wished that moment could last forever. However, the wheels of fate were already turning. The Dragon King Caney, in his ambition to become the ruler of the continent, broke the treaty and secretly assassinated Abramit's father. As lower beings, the winged dragons couldn't kill a god, but gods could kill each other. Dragon King Caney used Abram's divine blood to power an ancient forbidden ritual, the god-slaying array. Abramt was stunned. Did my best friend Brian betray me? Before he could process it, the Dragon King's long sword pierced his father's chest, and all he could do was watch his father collapse to the ground. The hamster quickly covered Abram's eyes and pulled him away from the danger. Abram's heart was being eaten away by guilt. He was consumed by the tragic belief that it was his own divine blood that had pushed his father to his death. The hamster quickly comforted him. It's not your fault. It was Brian. He betrayed your friendship. Abram gritted his teeth, stubbornly insisting over and over that his father wasn't dead, his voice tinged with a near maniacal desperation. He violently shook off the hamster's hand and turned to run back, determined to save the father he was convinced was still alive. The hamster watched his resolute back, a sharp stabbing pain twisting in her heart. She couldn't bear to watch Abram go to his death. She rushed forward and hugged him with all her might, shouting desperately, "Pacino's father gave his life to buy you time to live. You can't go die." However, Abram was blinded by grief and obsession, unwilling to believe the cruel reality that his father was gone. Just then, a familiar voice came from behind. "Abram, are you going to keep being a fool?" Abram froze and slowly turned around. It was Brian. He stood alone in the wind, his face etched with sorrow and helplessness. But in the hamster's eyes, he looked like a demon. She rushed forward, grabbing Brian by the collar and screaming, "Why did you betray Abram? You're the reason he lost his father." But in the face of the hamster's accusation, Brian vehemently denied it. "I knew nothing about it. This was all my father's secret plan. I grew up with your father teaching me, just like you. How could I ever harm him? I lost the uncle who loved me too. I'm in as much pain as you are." Brian's tearful words threw Abram into a state of confusion and inner conflict. Brian suddenly said urgently, "We're out of time. I know a secret path. I'll take you out of here now." Abram instinctively took a step back, looking at Brian with suspicion. His gaze unintentionally fell on a shocking scar on Brian's wrist. Memories flooded back to him. The once timid Brian had, without hesitation, thrown himself in front of him to block a fatal blow. But what was happening now? His mind was in turmoil. Logic told him he couldn't trust Brian again, but emotionally he couldn't let go of their once deep friendship. Finally, Abram took a deep breath, slowly reached out, and took Brian's hand. Brian looked at Abram, his lips trembling. "Abram, my dearest friend, I'm so sorry.